one of the things that you're doing things at scale. Amazon does things at scale. So I have two parts of this question. One is, what are some of the things that you're doing at Amazon that are impacting the company's DEI success? And how does that play into your personal journey, right? If we think back to the connection of how do you make sure what you're doing is going to benefit in your career as well?
Yeah, I've seen really smart, talented DEI professionals who come in with what I call a playbook. So this is how I've done it at company A, this is how I've done it at company B, this is how I've done it in my personal company, and now I want to implement it in your organization. And that rarely ever works. And the reason why it doesn't work is because it does not feel organic to how the organization does business. I tell people, if you're going to do diversity, equity, and inclusion work, you have to make it sticky. You have to make it so sticky that it feels organic to how the organization runs on all other key aspects or KPIs. So when I was at Caterpillar and we were doing diversity work, it was very clear to me that a lot of these very technical engineers, they knew how to measure certain things, but they couldn't quite measure inclusion. It was too fuzzy, right? I don't really know what to do with this. But one thing that was really important to Caterpillar was safety. So if you asked the janitor all the way up to the CEO, what's the one most important thing that we must do? They will all say safety. We started every meeting with a safety briefing. I mean, in the office, not in the plant, in the office. Every meeting started with the safety briefing. So everybody knew safety was our key priority. So when we relaunched the diversity and inclusion strategy, it was all around emotional safety, right? And so at Amazon, there is nothing more important to us than customer obsession. We lie and say all 14 leadership principles are equal, but we all know customer obsession actually it is a higher priority than the other 13, although they're close behind. But customer obsession roots everything that we do. We really work hard to earn and keep customer trust, and we're always kind of trying to figure out how do we delight the customer in new ways. It's the reason we move heaven and earth to try to get your package to you in 2 days, right? And so at Amazon, when I came into this role, or actually my previous role leading the corporate strategy, was all around, are we asking ourselves the question, are we equitably obsessing over all customers?
Wow.
So when you're building a product and thinking about customer obsession, who are you even envisioning is your customer?
Yeah.
Is it a person in a four-story walk-up in Brooklyn? Is it a person with disabilities? Is it a queer Latinx man? Who are you thinking of as your customer when you're building your products and services? And so our whole DEI strategy is around customer obsession. And I think how that's played into my own personal journey is the work that I'm doing right now, which is really around in studios, which is all customer facing work. So how do we make sure that we have diverse representation in front of the camera, behind the camera, above the line, below the line? How do we make sure that we're telling fully nuanced, authentic stories that are not riddled with stereotypes and tropes? And then how do we do it in an equitable way that increases access for storytellers to be able to tell their stories with agency? And how do we tell those stories to a globally diverse audience? And so, in our generation, Cody, I'm assuming we're probably close in the same age, I don't know. But, we watched everything that had a Black person on TV because it was so rare.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it was good or bad, we watched it.
Yeah.
And so what the work that I am doing now and the work that I want to do is bring customers stories that reflect, all parts of them, that reflect the beautifulness of who they are. I don't want to tell trauma porn or narco porn. I want to tell the stories that no one else is telling. I want to tell the stories of Sylvie's love, of, during the civil rights movement, there was a lot of things happening, but guess what? Black people were also falling in love, having children, getting married, and all the things, right? Yeah. And let people see that. We were breaking ceilings in careers. We were doing all of that, just like today. We're in another civil rights movement and we're still doing all the things, to be able to tell those stories in a rich and authentic way. And, that's rewarding for me when I can bring people delight and then also change minds, because I really believe storytelling changes how people see themselves and how they see other people.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And stories are so powerful. And we all do have stories, right? We all have the stories that we want to tell. And companies are getting better and better at kind of recognizing when there might be an event, but it doesn't have to be event driven all the time. And I'm glad to see the work that you're doing with Amazon Studios, and because what people see and what they hear about is going to really make a difference. And it's really impressive that you've got those.